Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Thoughts and Coffee with me, Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm super excited to be here with you today. It is our last show before Christmas, but we will be back with you next week, right after Christmas, before New Year's. We are not taking a break in 2021 because Audrey hasn't been here for a couple of weeks, and we want to make sure that we have her back before the end of 2021. I've also got my holiday sweater on. As you can see, I don't know if you can see that. It's a Marvels. And we have our Let's Talk Supply Chain holiday party today. So I am getting ready. Plus, this morning, we literally just hit 40,000 followers on our Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn page. So it is time to party today. And we're so excited to have you guys here with us. I have a fabulous guest with me today. But before we get into that, let's talk about everything that is going on this week. So we've got a brand new episode with Sarai. If you guys remember, I had Lindsay on last week talking about a little bit about global trade and what they're doing and how they're a part of HSBC over in Hong Kong. This episode will do a deep dive into who they are and what they do, real life examples of how they help their customers, and so much more. So wherever you subscribe to the Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast, it's episode 237. You can also find it on letstalksupplychain.com under listen. You just got to check out Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast. And then, of course, we have got our events coming up. So Abby Baird is going live this Thursday, December 23rd at 12:30 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Coming In Hot with Abby Baird. You won't want to miss that. Put that in your diary. Go to our LinkedIn event page, click the attend button, and you will be part of the show on Thursday. It's going to be a good one. Then, of course, we've got Purpose, Planet, Profit with Topple. They went live last week with Public Habit and Mercado, and they were talking about the first mile. They were talking about sustainable fashion. And if you missed it, you're going to want to go and check that out. We've got that episode over on the Let's Talk Supply Chain YouTube page. Just check out the playlist called Purpose, Planet, Profit. And then we're going to be at Manifest. My guests and I are going to be at Manifest January 25th to 27th. At the Paris in Las Vegas. And I can't wait. The panel discussion that I'm going to be doing is all about visibility, but it's with different technology providers with different vantage points. So really excited about that conversation. Plus, I'm going to be doing some other stuff around the event as well. What else have we got? We've got LogTech Live. That's coming back January 7th, I think, or January 8th. It's the first Friday of every single month. That's sponsored by Chain.io. And of course, we have a lot of brand new live shows. They're kicking off and launching in January, February, and you aren't going to want to miss this. We've got action items with DC Shvagola, and we've got No Bullshipping with Hope White, and so much more. And we cannot wait to tell you all about them. What else have we got? Oh, I wanted to talk to you guys about my LinkedIn Learning course. We are going to be talking about this with the guest because I did a post about this on Sunday. But if you haven't gone, go and check it out. It's Fundamentals of Sustainable Supply Chains. We are up over 6,500 people who have actually taken the course already. Super grateful for everybody who have done that. But you can find that in LinkedIn Learning. And then I wanted to bring up this Friday Funny that we put up last week because we got like 350 reactions to that. And I thought it was kind of funny. Good job, AJ, on the Friday Funny. And then what else have we got? Blended. We have a new episode of Blended out. This one launched last Wednesday, and it's about ageism. And we had Lisa Fenton, Leona Thomas, Lavinia, Brendan, and it was a dynamic conversation about age and all ages and discrimination at all ages. And how do we solve for this? So if you missed it, go and check it out. It's over on letstalksupplychain.com under Blended or wherever you subscribe to either Let's Talk Supply Chain or the Blended podcast as well. What else have we got? I think that's it. Yes, now it's time to bring up my guest for today. Good morning, Erin.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited that you could be here. I mean, we met in person. You reminded me this morning, we met in person at Log Tech in 2019, right?
Correct. Yep. Long
It's
time ago.
Yeah, it seems like so many eons ago. Like I feel like we've been through so many lifetimes since then of so many different things, right?
A lot has happened in a very short period of time, but a lot of good things too have come out of all this chaos of the pandemic. So, yep.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride, that's for sure. So why don't you introduce yourself? Tell everybody who you are, what you do, why you're excited to be here today.
Sure. So, always love chatting with you. Um, my name's Erin O'Leary. I'm the Vice President of Technology and Innovation for the Janelle Group, which is a logistics service provider. We're doing freight forwarding, customs brokerage, project cargo work, all your typical logistics solutions. I've been with the organization almost 2.5 years now. And as Vice President of Technology and Innovation, I initially came into the organization and was doing a lot of the customer-facing tech solutions. And it kind of spiraled into everything technology related within the organization and a lot of work on improving efficiencies and processes to make it better for our employees and for our customers. And so that's what I've been focused on a lot during this pandemic, actually, as tech has come to the forefront of it's not just a cost center anymore. Now it's a need for every organization, wherever you are in the industry. And I got into the industry a little over 10 years ago, and it was a family thing for me. And my father had been writing some computer software for some freight forwarders, and I kind of fell into the role of getting into tech. And so that's where I am now.
I love that. You and I kind of came into the industry kind of in similar ways, but in different fashions, right? You were in
Yeah.
technology. I went straight into, reception and then into operations and sales.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, I'm super happy to have you here. I just want to give a shout out over to the people on my personal LinkedIn page because we got it working today. Davin, we've got Dolores, Imtiaz, Jeffrey, Imran, and Casey. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us over there. I also didn't mention that whoever is engaging with us the most on a monthly basis, we give away this mug that I'm drinking out of, and it's our Let's Talk Supply Chain Management mug. So make sure to engage with us. We'll be announcing the winner next week at the end of the month. All right. So what are we talking about first? We are talking about the poll that we did last week. And so we asked all of you, which online meeting tool do you prefer? Well, we got 1,014 votes, which is crazy. 61% of you, like this is shocking to me. 61% of you said Microsoft Teams. 28% said Zoom, 10% said Google Meet, 2% said WebEx. Now, let me explain why this is a little bit surprising to me because I am definitely a Zoom fangirl. I love Zoom, use Zoom for everything. I think their tools are really great. They've got some fun backgrounds and all sorts of things that you can use reactions. I've used Teams a few times, but I feel like the quality is a little bit better on Zoom. But that's just my take. Erin, what do you think?
Yeah, so actually, pre-pandemic, about 4 months before we went into the initial lockdown, at Janelle, we had implemented the use of Microsoft Teams for all of our staff to start getting them away from the conference calls and have that face-to-face interaction with our other branch locations. We had a corporate team that was across the US that helped us better to get to know each other. And so it was instrumental for us in being effective as everybody was starting to work from home. And we chose Microsoft Teams because we're running, we're a Microsoft setup for Microsoft House, so to speak, and we're using all of their tools. That's not to say we don't use Zoom and don't use Google Meets because we have some customers and vendors that's their preference. So, we use those as well. But Teams has been really helpful for us. There's the chat functionality, the shared calendars, and just so many other tools that make it super useful for everyone.
Well, I want to know from all of you in the audience right now, which one do you prefer? Because I honestly, I thought the percentage for Zoom would be much higher, but I get it, right? A lot of organizations use Microsoft, and so it just makes sense to use Teams as well. Over on my personal page, Nick Coverdale has joined us and said it was either BBC Radio News or Sarah, and he decided to choose us for Thoughts and Coffee. So just want to give him a big thumbs up for coming on and being part of the audience today. We've got Amy, Mary, Jose, David, Sumaya, Dave, and Jonathan also joining us over on my personal LinkedIn page as well. All right, so we're going to talk about every Sunday morning, I put out a post about leadership. And I wanted to bring this one up because I started thinking about New Year's resolutions. I know it's not even Christmas yet, but it got me thinking about, Christmas, and then we've got New Year's, and we always start talking about New Year's resolutions. And I wanted to put a different spin on it. Because yes, New Year's resolutions are really important. It's something that motivates us at the beginning of the year, gives us, goals and different things to pursue in 2022. And this year, I'd like people, and this is what I did with my post on Sunday, is we posted the sustainable development goals. And one of the reasons why we did that is I do talk about it in my course, Fundamental of Sustainable Supply Chains, as a place to start. So just pick one of these and start. I want to take that one a little bit further and ask everybody to pick one as a New Year's resolution as well, because I think that if we all take a look at the sustainable development goals, we pick one, and we don't have to make an overwhelming impact. But if we pick one for the year 2022 and we're mindful about some of the actions and some of the conversations that we're taking towards that one goal, we can all make a difference together, and we can make the difference that needs to be done faster. Right? Because all the sustainability people that I talk to are like, we really should have started, yesterday or last week or 2 years ago. And so it's really important that we get started on a lot of the sustainability efforts right now. So Erin, what did you think of this when you saw it? I know I just sprung it on you this morning, but
there's a lot that I like to this. And then the ones that jump out at me, partnerships, right? I feel like partnerships are super critical in anything we do nowadays. And instead of being up against one another, those partnerships are what is driving us as an industry forward and being more effective and efficient. And then the quality education and the gender equality, those two are always, I think those are great ones as well, and definitely important.
Yeah, I actually sat down and took a look at a lot of these goals and took into account what we're doing here at Let's Talk Supply Chain, just to give everybody a bit of an example. It didn't take me a long time. I just sort of looked through the goals and thought about the different things that we're doing. So no poverty. We are actually helping with that goal because we donate to Kiva. If you haven't heard of Kiva, they support entrepreneurs globally. And so we're able to invest money in their businesses so that they can thrive. And if they're thriving, their families are thriving. And so we're helping to put food on people's tables. We also donate money on a year-round basis to Good Harvest as well. Obviously, gender equality, when I took a look at that one, Blended came right to the forefront, right? Not only through the podcast, but also what we're doing through the nonprofit now called the Blended Pledge. And that also covers decent work and economic growth, right? Because once we have these conversations or we're able to bring diverse voices to stages, it's going to open up opportunities for multitude of people. Reduced inequalities, that's part of Blended, that's part of Kiva. I'm also part of the committee with JOC for the Diversity and Inclusion Honors that we're going to be giving away at TPM. And then I looked at, responsible consumption and production, which is really around my LinkedIn Learning course because I talk about different things in that regard. Live below water. We do invest in a lot of Oceans 4 products as well so that we can help their initiatives and what they're doing in the water to help clean up the oceans. And then peace, justice, and strong institutions. Think about seafarers and what you can do for seafarers and how we've signed the Neptune Declaration so that we can be part of the movement to really help with that humanitarian effort. I'm also doing some stuff behind the scenes, which hopefully I'll be able to talk about soon enough, and working with some people who are doing more in that area. But I just wanted to give that as an example, just to showcase, sitting down with these goals, really thinking about what they mean and what they mean to you. And I'm not saying that you have to pick as many that we did, and it kind of coincided with some of the activities that we were already doing. So it's not like I sat down and I was like, oh, we're going to target all of these. It's just a matter as an organization or as a person to pick one and to do something for it throughout the year, and not just one time, but be mindful of it. So anyways, that's a little bit of my long-winded thought around New Year's resolutions and sustainable development goals. But I hope that you join me in making more of an impact in 2022 by picking one of those goals and just being intentional about it.
Well,
all right.
Simply to start, you can just create, like you're doing, Sarah, create the awareness, right? And start sharing this with everyone else and start thinking about it. And that's what gets people moving.
Yeah, joining others, right? That kind of thing. So now it's time for our supply chain topic. So let's talk about this. The first one up for today are empty containers. So everybody knows that we have been talking about the congestion at the port for, I don't know how many months. And it seems like every week it's, 100 containers, it's 80 containers, it's 70 containers. And there's all sorts of challenges around this port congestion. Well, now they're bringing empty containers up to the forefront and saying that this is one of the reasons for the bottleneck. There's no room for empties. There's no room for imports. So what do? We're kind of at a standstill. So this article talks about how they're meeting multiple times a week to talk about the congestion and how we can figure out a solution to this. And just to give you an example of what the Port of LA does on a weekly basis, they reposition 90,000 empty containers a week. That's a lot, right? If you think about the port and you think about import containers coming in, you've got empty containers coming in. Where do we put everything while it waits for a vessel to be put on, to send back, and all sorts of things? And actually what it says in this article too is that they're getting 30% more than what they are clearing. So you can just think about the total volume of empty containers that are just creating havoc on the port. So I wanted to bring this to your attention because we've talked about everything else, but empty containers, just to give you an idea of what's kind of happening with the port congestion. What were your thoughts when you saw this, Erin?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, the media has been all over this for a long time now, right? But it's been mostly about bringing stuff into the U.S. and bring, all the imports and trying to get everything here. And now we're starting to talk about the empty containers, which is interesting. So now this, like you said, is at the forefront. And what are our options? What can we do? And it looks like there's been a few things suggested, and just finding a good way to get them out of there. My first thought is, sharing data, right? What can we do to improve communications? Is there some type of technology that we can use to help this issue?
Absolutely. I mean, come on. We've got so many amazing minds in this industry. There's so much innovation happening. And there's got to be a way that we can use technology that can really help this, or at least that we can implement now to help resolve it. And then in the future, make sure that this doesn't happen again. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, what needs to happen for us to be able to do that? I mean, you're the technology guru today.
So I think, all parties involved starting to have more of a digital mindset and thinking of it that way, and collaborating together. And I can't say that I've got a solution off the top of my head, right? This is definitely not my wheelhouse when it comes to port congestion. However, I think the more parties that are involved that can say, hey, let's start to sit down, share some data, what can we do to use tech to solve that problem is going to, it wouldn't hurt, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And I think collaboration is a big point here as well. I think that there are a lot of moving parts around a port, and we've talked about this before. Everybody really needs to come together. Everybody needs to come together to sort of figure out what that solution is and what that way forward. And that means by bringing in all of the players.
Yep.
Right? I mean, I don't know how we're going to get out of this if we all don't talk about it and we all don't think about the different solutions that are coming to the forefront and things like that. So hopefully that they're doing that. I mean, if they're meeting weekly, I don't know who they're meeting with, but hopefully we're bringing all the players together to sort of figure out that solution. And so we can move some of this congestion out because, I mean, hey, we're going into 2022 with some of the same challenges that we're
Right.
having in 2021, and everybody's kind of tired of talking about it and hearing about it, but it's still something that needs to be solved. So it's definitely something that's top of mind for everybody. All right, so let's go on to our next story. So this one is really, really fun, and I'm excited to showcase this one with you. So I don't know how I found out about this shoe, but I found out about this shoe about 2 weeks ago. And it got me thinking, right? Because we're all going back to in person conferences in 2022. Like Manifest is happening, TPM is happening. They've already put out their COVID protocols. And for me, I think I'm not sure if I want to go back to walking around conferences in heels, to be perfectly honest. Do I have to? I don't know. Is it expected of me? I don't know. But I also want to feel comfortable, especially with Manifest being in Vegas. There's a lot of walking involved.
Yep.
And so I was looking at different shoes that I could get for a conference that would make sense, right? I'm not talking about actual running shoes. I'm talking about sneakers, which I think that there is a very big difference. And this one really caught my eye. So this says the shoe grows into a tree. And let me tell you, after I've done my research on this, it absolutely does. This thing has been featured all over the place. If you haven't heard about it, you need to come and see it. It's called Johnny. The website is in the article or in the comments. And this is how it works. And they've thought of everything. Like it's almost the perfect shoe. It's the most comfortable. It has a seed hidden in the shoe. So when you're done with the shoe, you can actually bury the shoe in dirt, and 3 years later, will welcome an apple tree. And it's waterproof because they use natural beeswax. You don't have smelly feet because of the insole that they have thought about. Like they've really thought about everything. And then on top of that, when you buy one of these shoes, they plant a tree. I mean, I don't know, but to me, this almost seems like too good to be true. What do you think, Erin?
It's pretty cool, and I hadn't ever heard of them until you brought it up. But you start taking a look at what they're offering. It's very interesting. My first question was, how does it not, start to biodegrade on your foot, right? But it says it has to be buried, and 3 years later is when it begins to go through that process. And having the apple seed in the middle of each of the shoes, that's pretty neat. It's pretty cool. What came to mind too was, one of the topics in the last year or so has been, all of fashion and clothing and where does it go and how most of it's going to a landfill. And so you would assume the same with shoes, right? And that's a problem with all the cheaper clothes that are out there nowadays and people kind of blowing through them. This is a great concept, right? To put less into the landfills. So definitely in favor of something like that. And then when you talk about footwear for conferences and everything else, I think things are definitely changing, and I am not a fan of wearing heels. And either I will be wearing flats at the conference, or you'll see me in a pair of Kate Spade sneakers or a pair of Vans. And that's just me, and I want to be comfortable, right? And there's no reason to be uncomfortable at work and at conferences, and I don't think those heels are necessary for women anymore at all. So
thank you, Erin. Because I bought a pair of sneakers just for this reason. I want to hear from the women in the audience. Do we need to wear heels anymore, or can we be just as comfy as the guys and wear some sneakers with our dress pants as well? I guess only time will tell. I'm going to try it out for conference season 2022 and see what kind of feedback that I get. And we're just going to see. But I think you're right. I think we want to be stylish, but we want to be comfortable.
Yep.
I went from like really high heels to kitten heels just because, and even with kitten heels, like, my feet by the end of the day were just so, sore. And I honestly don't think anybody needs to go through that
Nope. I don't think you need to be in, you want to be able to focus on your work, and you're at a conference, focus on your networking. And the last thing you want to do is be walking around with painful feet, right? So, and why can't, guys are doing it. So, the women should be doing the same.
Well, there you have it, folks. On Thoughts and Coffee today, Sarah and Erin have said Conference 2022 is going to be sneaker season for us. And I can't wait to showcase my new ones. I just bought new ones for the conference season, so I'm very, very excited. We are both going to be at Manifest, and we're both going to be at TPM, right?
Yes, looking forward to both. It'll be so nice to get out and see people in person again, since that's been very limited to this point, and just it'll be nice.
Look what Linda says. Heels need to go the way of pantyhose. Not necessary. Linda,
yep. Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and I appreciate your comment because that's amazing. Thank you. All right, so our last but not least, our last article, and this is about vinyl records. And you're probably sitting there thinking, and I do this to you guys all the time, what does vinyl records have to do with supply chain? Well, so much. I don't know if you guys know this, but in the first half of 2021, 17 million albums were sold on vinyl. That is an uptick of 86% from 2020. And it's all ages that are buying this vinyl. And that's just in new vinyl. Used vinyl has 10 million listings across like eBay and all sorts of other sites as well. But what is really interesting is the manufacturing behind vinyl records. So what happens is they take a digital file and they imprint it on a master disc. Then it gets sent to a stamper and it's copied on a stamper. Then it's sent to a pressing plant. And then the album jackets are printed, and then obviously the vinyl record are put into the album jackets. So to me, obviously manufacturing is a part of supply chain. And so really understanding popular products like this and how it's manufactured, and also some of the disruptions that they're seeing from the supply chain challenges that we talk about every day, which I'll mention in a minute. But Erin, what did you think about this? Do you buy vinyl records? I don't. I'm not one of the 17 million that bought albums, but.
So I don't buy vinyl. I don't buy CDs anymore. But I will say I have a lot of family friends that actually do as like a family activity and have, pre-pandemic, they'll go out as a family and go to a local record store. And I think there's more local record stores than most people think. I mean, most towns have one, and their family activity with their kids is getting them engaged and going out and purchasing, old band, favorite band, and going and getting that and bringing it home and listening to it, which I think is pretty awesome. And now you see things like I read that Adele did her release and had to finish her album 6 months early so that they had enough time to produce vinyl, because that's what she wanted to put out with the new album and make that available. So, that just digs right into what we're talking about today and the time it takes to manufacture and get them pressed and get them out there.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up. I had no idea about that stat. I'm a huge Adele fan. I tried to get tickets to Adele for when we're in Vegas for Manifest, and that was a bit of a nightmare. I did not get any, unfortunately. But it's interesting to hear that even artists like an Adele are thinking about the manufacturing process and actually changing what they're doing in the timeline of what they do to cater to what's going on with the supply chain and the manufacturing process of getting their albums out there, which is crazy. So some of the disruptions on top of that they're seeing. So the main ingredient in vinyl is actually PVC. And apparently it's quadrupled in price because of all of the supply chain disruptions, but the various supply chain disruptions. The other disruption that they have is lack of machines. So if you think about it, even if they had lack of machines prior to COVID, I mean, trying to get a machine now is going to take forever. And then they also, too, have a labor shortage as well. So not only supply chain is feeling the labor shortage and not only the hospitality, they're also feeling a labor shortage in the manufacturing side of vinyl records as well. And it's gone from taking 6 weeks, and there is an infographic in the article that shows how long it takes. So anyways, go and check out the article in the comments, because there's all sorts of infographics in there, but it's now gone from 6 to 26 weeks to produce a vinyl record. And the other thing to note with vinyl records, they actually have 12 times the emissions, which is not good. So something to think about when you are looking at vinyl records, how do we offset those emissions? Because 12 times is a lot.
Yep.
Any
I
final
also,
thoughts, Aaron's?
yeah,
We're about 15-second out.
I also saw that, I don't know if it was a manufacturing plant or a pressing plant for the vinyls, but there was a fire at one of them within the last year too that kind of held, that's going to slow it down too when we're limited on the places that produce them. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Good point. Good point. Well, listen, we are right at time. I just want to thank everybody for all your love and support in 2021. Happy holidays. Have an amazing time. I am going to be back next Tuesday with Audrey Ross for a final show in 2021. You're not going to want to miss it because we're talking about some more fun supply chain hot topics next week as well. Erin, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming on
you.
the show today.
Thank you
And I
very
hope
much.
everybody has a great week.